My family's been excluding me from every family vacation for over a decade. They went nuts when I took an all-expense-paid vacation, without them. So I'm 28, and my family has this thing where they do these big trips every year. Last year, they went to Hawaii for 2 weeks. The year before that, Europe for 3 weeks. They've got this group chat called Family Adventures where they plan everything. My mom, dad, my sister Katie, my brother Josh, and Josh's wife Mariana. I'm not in the chat. I found out about Hawaii when my mom posted pictures on Facebook with the caption, "Perfect family vacation." Someone commented asking where I was, and she replied, "Oh, she had to work." I didn't have to work. Nobody told me about the trip. This has been happening since I was 16. They went to Disney World when I was 17 and told me the day before that there wasn't room in the hotel. They went on a cruise when I was 21 and said they forgot to book my ticket. Every single time they have some excuse. "We thought you were busy with school. You don't like boats anyway." Katie really needed sister time with mom. But here's the thing. My dad's sister, Aunt Rita, she noticed. She started inviting me to everything her family did. Sunday dinners, movie nights, even their small vacations. Her husband Tom treats me like I'm their second daughter, and their kid Bella calls me her big sister. When I graduated from college, my parents didn't come because they had Josh's girlfriend's birthday party to attend. Rita, Tom, and Bella drove 4 hours to watch me walk across that stage. So last month I get my bonus at work. It's huge, like $20,000 huge. I booked this insane vacation package to Turks and Caicos. We're talking private villa, butler service, yacht rental, the whole thing. 7 nights at this resort that costs more per night than most people make in a week. I call Rita and tell her to request time off for her, Tom, and Bella for next month. Don't tell them why, just that it's important. She trusts me and does it. The day before we leave, I drive to their house with all the documents. Bella starts screaming when she sees the tickets. Tom literally tears up. Rita keeps saying, "I can't accept this, it's too much." I tell them they're my real family and this is happening. We fly out the next morning, first class, which none of them have ever done before. Bella takes pictures of everything. Tom orders champagne just because he can. Rita holds my hand during takeoff and tells me I'm the daughter she always wanted me to be to her. We're at the resort for 3 days when my phone starts exploding. Katie posted on Instagram about their annual family trip planning meeting. Someone commented, "Is your sister going this year?" Katie responded, "She never wants to come to these things." Rita's sister follows Katie and saw the post. She knows about the trips they exclude me from. She comments, "That's funny because she's in Turks and Caicos right now with Rita's family." All hell breaks loose. My mom calls me 15 times in an hour. My dad texts me paragraphs about how I'm betraying the family by taking outsiders on expensive trips. Josh leaves me a voicemail saying I'm pathetic for trying to buy Rita's love. Mariana texts asking how much the trip cost because she knows Josh will want to know. I don't answer any of them. But then Katie does something really stupid. She messages Rita directly and says, "You should be ashamed of yourself taking advantage of my sister like this, making her pay for your vacation because you can't afford it yourselves." Rita screenshots it and sends it to me. Now I'm pissed. I call Katie and put her on speaker so everyone can hear. "What's your problem?" I ask. She starts ranting about how I'm wasting money on random relatives when my real family struggles to pay for their trips. I go, "You guys went to Hawaii without me. You went to Europe without me. You've excluded me from every family vacation for 12 years. She actually says, "You wouldn't have enjoyed those trips anyway. You're too uptight." I tell her, "Rita came to my college graduation. Where were you?" She goes quiet, then says, "Josh needed help moving that weekend." I remind her Josh moved 3 months after graduation. She tries another angle. "This is different. You're rubbing our faces in how much money you have now." I laugh and say, "No, I'm spending my money on people who actually want me around. Enjoy planning your next family trip. I'm sure you'll have a great time without me, just like always." She starts to say something else, but I hang up. My mom texts me that I'm no longer welcome at Christmas unless I apologize to everyone for being deliberately hurtful. I text back, "That's fine. Rita already invited me to theirs." The rest of the trip is perfect. Bella learns to snorkel, Tom catches a huge fish, Rita and I stay up late talking on the beach. When we get home, my dad is waiting at my apartment. He's standing in the hallway right outside my door with his arms crossed over his chest. The look on his face is one I've seen 1,000 times before. That disappointed dad expression he does so well. He doesn't ask if he can come in or even say hello. He just launches right into it about how I embarrassed the family and hurt my mother's feelings with my little stunt. I dig my keys out of my purse and unlock the door without saying anything back to him. I walk inside and he follows me in like he was invited, which he definitely wasn't. He closes the door behind him and starts this whole speech about family loyalty. He goes on about how Rita has always been jealous of my mom and how she's been trying to manipulate me for years. He actually says Rita saw an opportunity to turn me against my real family, and she took it. I drop my suitcase by the door and just stand there listening to him rewrite history. He keeps talking about how Rita has always wanted what my mom has, how she's bitter about something from years ago, how this whole vacation thing was probably her idea to make my parents look bad. I let him go on for about 5 minutes because part of me wants to hear how far he'll take this. Then I cut him off mid-sentence and ask him directly why I wasn't invited to Hawaii. I ask about Europe too, and the cruise, and Disney World, and every other trip they took without me. His face does this thing where he actually looks confused, like he genuinely can't remember excluding me from all those vacations. It's almost worse than if he'd been smug about it. He stands there blinking at me for a few seconds like I just asked him to solve a math problem. Then he recovers fast and switches gears. He says those trips were planned around other people's schedules and I was always busy with work or school anyway. He says they didn't want to bother me when I had so much going on. I pull out my phone and start scrolling through screenshots. Rita sent me pictures of the group chat I was never added to, the one called Family Adventures. I show him the Facebook posts where Mom said I had to work when I didn't. I show him the pattern of lies going back 12 years, all lined up on my phone screen. His face gets hard while he's looking at my phone. He hands it back to me and switches tactics again. He says I'm being dramatic and holding grudges over nothing. He actually says they always assumed I didn't want to come because I never asked about the trips. I stare at him and ask how I was supposed to ask about trips I didn't know existed. He ignores that and keeps going about how I'm making a big deal out of normal family stuff. I tell him to leave. I say I'm done having this conversation and he needs to go. He doesn't move from where he's standing in my living room. He says we need to resolve this as a family, which apparently means me apologizing to everyone and pretending the last 12 years didn't happen. He actually says if I just apologize for the vacation, and for being disrespectful, we can move past this. I pull out my phone again and call Rita, putting her on speaker before it even starts ringing. She picks up on the second ring, and I tell her my dad is in my apartment refusing to leave. I ask if Tom can come over because I know my dad won't make a scene in front of his brother-in-law. Rita starts to say Tom doesn't need to bother, but I talk over her and say please. My dad's whole expression changes from disappointed to angry. His face gets red and he points at my phone. He says I'm choosing sides and destroying the family by calling Rita instead of working this out with him. He says I'm proving everything he just said about her manipulating me. Then he finally heads for the door, but he slams it so hard behind him that the picture frames on my wall shake. My neighbor opens her door and peeks out to see what the noise was. I wave at her and say everything's fine, then close my door and lock it. Tom shows up 20 minutes later even though Rita told him on the phone not to bother. He knocks and identifies himself before I open the door. He comes in and does a walk through my whole apartment, checking the locks on the windows and making sure the door deadbolt works right. He asks if my dad has a key and I say no. I never gave my parents one. Tom nods and says that's good, then offers to stay on my couch tonight in case my dad comes back. I tell him no, but I appreciate it more than I can even put into words. He pulls me into a hug and says I'm his daughter too. He says he's proud of me for standing up for myself even though it's hard and scary. I hug him back and feel myself getting emotional, but I hold it together. Tom stays for another hour just sitting with me on the couch, not really talking about anything important, just being there. When he finally leaves, he makes me promise to call if anything else happens, and I lock the door behind him. That night, I can't sleep, and I keep going over everything my dad said, wondering if maybe I really am being too hard on them. I stare at my ceiling for hours trying to figure out if I'm the problem here. Then around 3 in the morning, I remember my college graduation, and how I sat in that audience watching other families take pictures together and celebrate while my parents were at some birthday party for Josh's girlfriend who they barely even knew. Rita drove 4 hours each way just to watch me walk across a stage for 30 seconds. My parents couldn't drive 20 minutes. I stop wondering if I'm being unreasonable after that and finally fall asleep around 4. My alarm goes off at 7 for work, and I feel like garbage, but I drag myself up anyway. I'm making coffee when my phone buzzes with a text from Katie, and I almost don't open it, but I do. It's this massive wall of text about how I've always been difficult and caused problems in the family. She lists all these examples from when we were kids, like the time I cried at her birthday party when I was 6 because no one would play with me, or when I didn't want to share my toys with Josh when I was 8. She rewrites every single memory to make me the villain in situations where I was literally just a kid existing. She says I was always jealous of her relationship with Mom, and that I made family dinners awkward by being quiet and sullen. I read through the whole thing twice, and I can't even believe what I'm seeing. She's making stuff up or twisting normal kid behavior into evidence that I'm some kind of problem child who deserved to be excluded. I don't respond to her, but I screenshot every single message and send them all to Rita. My phone rings about 30 seconds later, and Rita is already talking before I even say hello. We spend the next hour going through Katie's message line by line, and Rita points out all the ways Katie is gaslighting me and trying to manipulate the narrative. Rita remembers most of these events differently, or knows the real context that Katie left out. Like that birthday party where I cried, Rita was there and she remembers that Katie's friends were actively mean to me and made fun of my dress. The toy thing with Josh happened right after he broke my favorite doll on purpose, and my parents made me apologize to him. Rita gets more and more angry as we go through everything, and she keeps saying she can't believe Katie would try this manipulation tactic. She tells me this is classic scapegoat behavior where one family member gets blamed for everything, so the others don't have to look at their own actions. Rita mentions that her sister saw more comments on Katie's Instagram post about the family trip planning, and apparently extended family members are weighing in now. Some of them are defending me and saying they always wondered why I was never at family events. Rita says one cousin commented asking why I wasn't in the family group chat, and another aunt said she thought it was weird that I missed so many holidays. This is apparently making my parents really angry because now people are asking uncomfortable questions instead of just accepting whatever excuse my mom gives. Rita sounds almost happy about it, which makes me feel less guilty for causing drama. We finally hang up and I'm running late for work, but I feel better knowing Rita sees exactly what Katie is trying to do. I'm at my desk for maybe 2 hours when my phone rings and it's my dad's number. I almost don't answer, but something makes me pick up and it's my mom crying. She's using my dad's phone because I've been ignoring her calls from her own number. She's sobbing about how I've turned the whole family against them, and how relatives are asking her why they were excluded me, and she doesn't know what to say. She keeps saying I'm making them look like bad parents and that I'm being cruel by not defending them to extended family. I let her talk for a minute and then I tell her that I didn't turn anyone against them. They did that themselves by lying about me for 12 years. She starts to argue and say they never lied. They just didn't want to burden me with trips I wouldn't enjoy. I tell her that's a lie too, and I hang up before she can say anything else. For the first time since this whole thing started, I don't feel crazy for being hurt by their behavior. That afternoon, Josh leaves me a voicemail, and I can tell immediately that my parents wrote a script for him because he sounds like he's reading. He talks about family forgiveness and moving forward together and healing old wounds. He never once says what they did wrong or acknowledges that they excluded me or offers any kind of actual apology. It's all just generic stuff about how family is important, and we need to work through our differences. The whole message is like 5 minutes long, and he sounds uncomfortable the entire time, like he knows this is garbage, but he's doing it anyway. I text him back with just one question, which is, "Did you know I wasn't invited to Hawaii?" He doesn't respond for 6 hours, and I'm starting to think he's just going to ignore me. But finally my phone buzzes. His text just says, "Mom said you had to work and nothing else." That tells me everything I need to know about whether he's willing to see the truth, or if he's just going to keep believing whatever makes things easier for him. Sunday comes around and Rita invites me to their regular dinner like always. I've been going to these dinners for years, and it's the most normal part of my week. Bella is so excited when I get there because she got all the photos from our vacation printed, and she wants to show me every single one. We spread them out on the dining room table and go through them while Rita makes dinner. There's pictures of Bella snorkeling and Tom on the yacht and all of us at the beach. Tom's sunburn in the photos is hilarious, and we're all laughing at how red he got on the second day. He keeps saying he used sunscreen, but clearly not enough. Rita made her special lasagna, and we're halfway through dinner when the doorbell rings. Rita gets up to answer it and comes back with her sister Virginia and Virginia's husband and their kids. Virginia walks straight over to where I'm sitting and pulls me into this tight hug. She says she's glad I finally stood up to my parents and that she's watched them treat me like an afterthought for years. She says someone needed to call them out on their behavior, and she's proud of me for doing it, even though it's hard. Virginia pulls back from the hug and sits down at the table with us. She grabs a piece of garlic bread and says my mom called her 2 days ago, asking her to talk sense into me. I freeze with my fork halfway to my mouth because I can already guess what that conversation was like. Virginia waves her hand dismissively and tells me she set my mom straight. She says she told her that the only sense to be talked was into parents who systematically excluded their daughter for 12 years and then got mad when she found a real family. Tom actually laughs at that, and Bella asks what systematically means. Rita explains it means doing something over and over on purpose, and Bella nods like that makes perfect sense. Virginia's husband says he never understood why my parents treated me differently, and that he's glad I finally did something about it. Their kids are nodding along even though they're young, and I realize even they noticed something was wrong with how my family treated me. The whole table goes quiet for a second, and I feel this weird pressure building in my chest. These people aren't related to me by blood, but they've been paying attention to my life for years. They noticed when I was excluded, and they cared about it more than my own parents did. Virginia reaches over and squeezes my hand, and I have to blink really fast because I'm not going to cry at the dinner table. Rita sees my face and changes the subject to dessert, asking who wants ice cream with their pie. Everyone starts talking about dessert preferences and the moment passes, but I'm still feeling emotional about the whole thing. After dinner, we're clearing plates when Bella comes up to me and asks if I'm going to their house for Christmas this year. The question catches me off guard because I haven't actually made it official yet. I look over at Rita, who's scraping plates at the sink. I tell Bella I'd love to spend Christmas with them if the invitation still stands. Rita drops the plate she's holding back into the sink with a clatter and spins around. She says of course the invitation stands, and that she's been hoping I'd say yes. She immediately starts talking about the menu and asking what my favorite Christmas foods are. Tom jokes that Rita's been planning this Christmas in her head since July. Bella starts jumping up and down talking about how we can make cookies together and watch Christmas movies. Virginia says she'll bring her famous sweet potato casserole, and suddenly everyone's planning this whole Christmas celebration. I'm standing there with a stack of dirty plates feeling like I finally found where I'm supposed to be. The next few days go by pretty normally. I go to work, come home, avoid my phone when I see texts from my family. A week after that dinner at Rita's house, my phone buzzes during my lunch break. It's a text from my mom. I almost don't read it, but curiosity gets the better of me. The message says they're moving forward with their Christmas plans without me since I've made my choice clear. There's no apology in the text. No acknowledgement of anything they did wrong. Just confirmation that I'm still excluded, and somehow it's my fault for not apologizing to them. I stare at the message for a long time. Part of me wants to type out this huge response explaining everything, but I know it won't change anything. Instead, I just type back, okay, have a good holiday, and hit send. I put my phone down and finish my sandwich. My phone buzzes again an hour later when I'm back at my desk. It's Rita asking if I'm okay. I realize she must have talked to my mom or somehow found out about the text. I tell her I'm fine, and she responds immediately saying she's coming to pick me up after work. When I get outside at 5, Rita's car is already there. I climb in, and she just reaches over and squeezes my hand. She doesn't ask me to talk about it or tell me how I should feel. She just reminds me that I have a family who actually wants me around. We drive to her house, and Tom's making dinner. Bella runs up and hugs me like she always does. Everything feels normal and safe, and I realize this is what family is supposed to feel like. Work becomes this welcome distraction over the next few days. I throw myself into projects and meetings. My boss stops by my desk one afternoon and mentions that I seem lighter somehow. She says I've been more focused and engaged in meetings. I tell her I've just been working through some family stuff, and she nods like she understands. Later that day, I'm getting coffee in the break room, and I realize my boss is right. Standing up for myself has been painful, but it's also lifted this weight I didn't even know I was carrying. I'm not constantly wondering why my family doesn't want me around anymore. I know why, and I know it's not actually about me. The next morning, I'm scrolling through social media during breakfast, and Katie's latest post pops up. It's a bunch of photos from what she's calling the family Christmas planning meeting. There's my mom and dad, Josh and his wife, all of them sitting around my parents' dining room table with notebooks and calendars. Katie tagged everyone in the photos except me. She even tagged some cousins who aren't in the pictures. The exclusion is so deliberate, it's almost funny. It stings for just a second, that sharp feeling of being left out. But then I remember that these are the same people who went to Hawaii without telling me. The same people who chose a girlfriend's birthday party over my college graduation. I'm planning Christmas with people who drove 4 hours to watch me walk across the stage. I close the app and finish my breakfast. That weekend, I'm back at Rita's house helping Bella with a school project. We're building some kind of volcano for her science class, and there's paper mache everywhere. Bella gets this serious look on her face and asks if she can call me her sister instead of her cousin. She says that's what I really am to her anyway. I tell her I'd be honored, and she throws her arms around me, getting paper mache paste all over both of us. Rita walks in and sees us hugging, and her eyes get all watery. She doesn't say anything, but I can see what it means to her. Tom comes in and asks what he missed, and Bella announces that I'm officially her sister now. Tom grins and says he always knew I was part of the family. We finish the volcano and order pizza, and everything feels right. Monday morning, I'm at work eating lunch at my desk when the receptionist calls. She says there's someone here to see me, and she sounds uncertain. I ask who it is, and she says it's my father. My stomach drops, but I take a breath and ask if he's causing problems. She says no, but that he's insisting he needs to talk to me. I tell her to let security know and that I don't want to see him. There's a pause, and she says, okay, she'll handle it. I can hear her talking to someone in the background. She comes back on the line and says security is with him now and asking if I want to see him. I say no again, clearer this time. I realize I have the power to enforce my boundaries. I don't have to see him just because he showed up. The receptionist says she'll take care of it and hangs up. I sit at my desk trying to focus on my computer screen, but my hands are shaking. About 10 minutes later, the receptionist calls back. She says my father left, but he left a note for me with security. She asks if I want her to bring it up. I tell her yes, and she arrives a few minutes later with a sealed envelope. I thank her, and she gives me this sympathetic look before heading back downstairs. I open the envelope and pull out a piece of paper covered in my dad's handwriting. The first line says, I'm breaking my mother's heart and destroying the family. I don't read the rest. I fold the paper back up, walk to the break room, and throw it in the trash. I'm done accepting blame for their choices. That weekend, Tom calls and asks if I want to go fishing with him on Saturday morning. He says he usually goes alone, but thought I might like to come along. I've never been fishing in my life, but I tell him yes right away. Something about the invitation feels important. Like he's showing me I'm part of his regular life now, not just the big vacation moments. Saturday morning, I meet him at the lake at 6 in the morning. It's cold and foggy, and I'm wearing clothes Rita lent me because I don't own anything appropriate for fishing. Tom hands me a thermos of coffee and doesn't make fun of my borrowed gear. We get the boat loaded and head out onto the water. The lake is quiet except for the sound of the motor and a few birds calling to each other. Tom cuts the engine and we drift for a while before he starts setting up the fishing rods. He shows me how to cast, his hands guiding mine through the motion. He's patient when I mess up and tangle the line. He just untangles it and tells me to try again. We sit in comfortable silence for a long time, just the sound of water lapping against the boat. Then Tom starts telling me stories about when Rita and my dad were kids. He talks about how they used to build forts in the woods behind their house, and how Rita always let my dad be the leader even though she was older. He mentions summer trips to their grandparents' farm and how my dad would get jealous when their parents praised Rita for being responsible. Tom says my dad was always competitive with Rita, always trying to prove he was just as good or better. He says their parents favored Rita because she was calmer and more helpful, and my dad never really got over that. Tom looks at me and suggests that maybe my parents excluded me because I reminded them of Rita. Or maybe because they saw how much Rita loved me and it triggered something in my dad. The observation hits me hard because it actually makes perfect sense. Katie looks exactly like my mom with the same blonde hair and sharp features. Josh acts like my dad, competitive and always needing to be the center of attention. But everyone has always told me I'm just like Rita, calm and thoughtful and good at listening. Maybe that's exactly why they pushed me away. Maybe every time they looked at me they saw my dad's sister instead of their daughter. I sit with that realization while Tom reels in a fish. He doesn't push me to talk about it, just keeps fishing and telling stories. We stay out on the lake until noon and I catch 2 fish and Tom catches 5. On the drive back, he tells me we should do this again next month. Thanksgiving comes and I spend it at Rita's house. Virginia and her husband and kids show up around noon with 3 pies and a huge bowl of mashed potatoes. The house is full of noise and laughter and the smell of turkey. Rita starts a new tradition where we go around the table and everyone says what they're grateful for. When it's my turn, I say I'm grateful for family who chooses to show up. Bella immediately adds that she's grateful I'm her sister now. Rita starts crying happy tears right into her mashed potatoes and has to excuse herself to get tissues. Tom squeezes my hand under the table. Virginia's kids talk about being grateful for video games and pie and everyone laughs. The whole day feels easy and natural. No one walking on eggshells or worrying about being forgotten. I'm not anxiously checking my phone waiting for a text that never comes. I'm just here, fully present, with people who actually want me around. Later that evening when I'm home, Virginia texts me a screenshot. My mom sent a group text to the extended family talking about how hard the holiday is when family members abandon their roots and forget where they came from. The message is clearly about me without mentioning my name. Virginia says she wanted me to see it, but that I shouldn't let it ruin my day. The weird thing is, I'm not even angry when I read it. I just feel sad for my mom that she spent Thanksgiving crafting guilt trip messages instead of enjoying her family. Several relatives respond to my mom's text, and Virginia screenshots those too. My dad's cousin says she's seen how I was treated over the years and thinks my mom needs to look in a mirror. Rita's brother mentions that he noticed I was never invited to family trips and always wondered why. Another cousin points out that Rita's family seems pretty happy to include me in everything. My mom doesn't respond to any of them. Virginia texts me a few days later saying my mom has stopped posting on social media completely. She heard through another relative that my mom is upset no one is taking her side. Apparently, she expected everyone to agree that I'm being ungrateful and difficult. Instead, people are asking her uncomfortable questions about why she excluded me for 12 years. The first week of December, my phone rings and it's Josh. For just a second, I think maybe he's calling to apologize, to finally acknowledge what happened. Instead, he asks if I'm really not coming to Christmas this year. He says Mom is upset and can't I just pretend everything is fine for her sake? Just come to Christmas and act normal and everyone can move on. I tell Josh I'm done pretending. I spent 12 years pretending it didn't hurt to be excluded from every family vacation and every important event. I pretended it was okay that they went to Hawaii without telling me. I pretended it didn't matter that they chose a girlfriend's birthday over my college graduation. I won't spend one more day pretending any of it was acceptable. Josh says I'm being selfish and making everything about me. He says Mom is struggling and I should be the bigger person. I hang up on him and finally understand that he will never see me as anything but the problem. He'll never admit that they did anything wrong. To him, I'm just difficult and ungrateful, and nothing I say will change that view. I text Rita and tell her about the call. She responds immediately saying their loss is her gain, and that she's already planning Christmas dinner with me in mind. A few days later, Rita picks me up for Christmas shopping, and we head to the big mall across town. Bella bounces in the back seat talking about what she wants to get for her dad, and showing us her list written in purple marker. The mall is packed with holiday shoppers, and every store has decorations and music playing. We start in the toy section looking for something for Bella's friend from the school. Rita and I are laughing about a ridiculous stuffed animal that sings when Bella suddenly grabs my hand and points across the aisle. My mom is standing near the checkout area holding a shopping bag. She looks right at us, and I see her face change. For just a second, I think maybe she'll come over or at least wave. Instead, she turns completely around and walks fast toward the exit on the other side of the store. I watch her disappear into the crowd and feel this weird, empty feeling in my chest. Rita squeezes my shoulder but doesn't say anything. Bella tugs on my sleeve and asks why Grandma Bonnie walked away like that. I open my mouth, but nothing comes out because I don't know how to explain this to a kid. Rita kneels down next to Bella and says, "Sometimes grown-ups have disagreements and need space, and that's okay." Bella asks if Grandma is mad at me, and Rita says grown-up feelings are complicated, but it doesn't change how much we love Bella. Bella seems to accept this and goes back to looking at toys, but I can tell she's confused. We move to another store and Rita links her arm through mine. She tells me my mom's lost and that she's glad to have me. We try on ridiculous hats in the accessory store, and Bella puts on a huge floppy sun hat with fake flowers. Rita wears a fuzzy winter hat with ear flaps, and I pick up a sparkly beret. We take pictures in the mirror making silly faces, and Bella laughs so hard she snorts. The sadness from seeing my mom fades as we move through the stores. We stop at the food court and get hot chocolate piled high with whipped cream. Bella gets chocolate on her nose, and Rita uses a napkin to wipe it off. This is what family is supposed to feel like. No one is checking their phone to see if someone else texted. No one is making plans without me. We're just here together having fun. Rita and I split a giant pretzel, and Bella tells us about her school play. We spend 2 hours going from the store to the store, and my feet hurt, but I don't care. I find a beautiful scarf for Rita in deep blue that matches her eyes. For Tom, I get a fancy fishing lure set he mentioned wanting months ago. For Bella, I find this art kit with every color marker and special paper for drawing. I also grab a nice candle set for Virginia and her husband because they've been so supportive. Rita tries to peek in my shopping bags, but I hide them and tell her no spoiling the surprise. We pass a jewelry store, and Bella presses her face against the window looking at sparkly necklaces. Rita and I exchange a look and we go inside. I let Bella pick out a simple silver bracelet with a heart charm. The clerk wraps it up and Bella carries the small bag like it's treasure. On the drive home, Bella falls asleep in the back seat hugging her shopping bags. Rita reaches over and holds my hand. She tells me she's proud of me for handling the situation with my mom with grace. I don't feel very graceful, but I appreciate her saying it. 3 days before Christmas, my phone buzzes with a text from Mariana. I stare at her name on my screen for a full minute before opening it. She says she's sorry for not speaking up over the years. She writes that she always thought the exclusion was wrong, but didn't want to cause problems with Josh's family. She says she should have said something and that she regrets staying quiet. I read the message 3 times trying to figure out how I feel about it. Part of me wants to be angry, but mostly I just feel tired. I text back that I appreciate her apology, but staying silent made her complicit. I tell her that watching something wrong happen and doing nothing is still a choice. She responds right away saying she accepts that and understands if I don't want a relationship with her. She just wanted me to know she sees the truth now. I put my phone down and don't respond again. It's something I guess, but it doesn't change 12 years of silence. Christmas Eve at Rita's house smells like sugar and cinnamon. Bella drags me into the kitchen where cookie dough is already spread across the counter. We spend the afternoon cutting out shapes and decorating them with colored frosting. Tom builds a fire in the living room and the whole house feels warm. Rita teaches me her mom's recipe for cinnamon rolls that we'll bake in the morning. She shows me how to roll the dough just right and tells me stories about making these with her mom when she was little. We watch old Christmas movies and Bella insists on making hot chocolate from scratch with real cocoa powder. She stirs the pot carefully while Rita supervises. Tom brings in more wood for the fire and settles into his chair with a book. I curl up on the couch with a blanket and Bella snuggles next to me. The TV plays some old movie about a kid wanting a BB gun, but I'm barely paying attention. I'm just soaking in this feeling of being exactly where I'm supposed to be. Around 10, Bella starts yawning and Rita sends her up to brush her teeth. I help clean up the kitchen and Rita hugs me tight before I head upstairs. I sleep in the guest room, which Rita now calls my room. She's hung photos on the walls, including several from our Turks and Caicos trip. There's one of all 4 of us on the beach at sunset and another of Bella and me snorkeling. My favorite is a candid shot of Rita and me laughing at dinner. I change into pajamas and climb into bed. The sheets smell like lavender and the room is quiet except for the house settling. I fall asleep feeling completely at peace. Christmas morning, Bella bursts into my room at 7, jumping on the bed. She's wearing reindeer pajamas and her hair is sticking up everywhere. I follow her downstairs where Tom already has coffee brewing and Rita is pulling the cinnamon rolls from the oven. The smell is incredible. We eat breakfast first, even though Bella keeps looking at the presents under the tree. Rita makes scrambled eggs and Tom cuts up fruit. Finally, we move to the living room and start opening gifts. We go slowly, taking turns and actually watching each person open their present. Bella opens the art kit first and screams with excitement. She immediately wants to start drawing, and Rita has to remind her to finish opening everything else first. When Rita opens the photo album I made from our vacation, she starts crying. She flips through every page looking at the pictures and reading the little notes I wrote. Tom gets emotional too, looking over her shoulder. Bella loves the bracelet and puts it on right away, holding her wrist up to show everyone. I open gifts from them, including a soft sweater from Rita and a new purse from Bella that she picked out herself. Then Tom hands me a long, thin package. I unwrap it carefully and find a fishing rod with my name engraved on the handle. Tom says he expects me to use it regularly. The gesture hits me hard because it's not just a gift. It's a promise that I'll be around, that I'm part of their regular life. I hug him and feel tears starting, but I don't care. This is my family and I'm finally home. Around noon, Virginia shows up with Nathaniel and their kids carrying dishes of food. She hugs me tight and whispers that she's glad I'm here where I belong. The house fills up fast with people setting plates and silverware on the big dining table. Virginia brings a huge pan of green bean casserole, and Nathaniel carries in a turkey he smoked himself. Their kids run around with Bella showing them all her new presents. Rita assigns everyone jobs, and the kitchen becomes this organized chaos of people heating dishes and stirring pots. I help Virginia set the table, and she tells me she's proud of me for choosing myself. Nathaniel carves the turkey while Tom pours drinks for everyone. We all gather around the table, and it's packed with people who actually want to be here together. No one is missing. No one got left behind or forgotten. Everyone brought something, and everyone matters. Rita says a quick thank you for the food and the people around the table, and then we start passing dishes. The conversation flows easy with people laughing and telling stories. Bella sits next to me and keeps putting food on my plate, saying I need to try everything. I look around at all these faces and realize this is what family dinners are supposed to feel like. My phone sits in my pocket completely silent. I check it once during dessert and there's nothing. No texts from my mom or dad, no calls from Katie or Josh, not even a generic Merry Christmas message. It hurts for a second seeing that empty screen, but then I look back at the table full of people who chose to be here with me. My biological family is somewhere having their own Christmas, and they're fine without me. They're probably not even thinking about me right now. That realization settles into my chest, heavy and painful, but also clear. They're more interested in being right than having a relationship with me. They'd rather exclude me and defend their choice than admit they were wrong or try to fix things. The silence from my phone tells me everything I need to know about where I stand with them. After dinner, everyone helps clean up, and then we move to the living room for coffee and more dessert. Rita pulls me aside into the hallway while everyone else is distracted. She hands me a small wrapped box and tells me to open it now. Inside is a silver key on a simple keychain. There's a note tucked under it that says, "You always have a home here," in Rita's handwriting. I look up at her and my eyes fill with tears. She pulls me into a hug, and I finally let myself cry for real. Not sad crying exactly, but this release of everything I've been holding. All the years of being left out and making excuses for them and wondering what was wrong with me. All of it comes out while Rita holds me and rubs my back. She tells me I'm her daughter in every way that matters, and this house is my home whenever I need it. I cry harder because I've wanted to hear those words my whole life. When I finally stop crying, my face is blotchy and my eyes are swollen, but I feel lighter somehow. Like I've been carrying this weight for 12 years and I finally put it down. Rita wipes my face with her sleeve and we go back to join everyone else. No one asks why my eyes are red. They just make room for me on the couch and hand me a cup of coffee. A week later, Rita throws a New Year's Eve party and invites all their friends. The house fills up with couples and families I've never met before. A woman named Sarah introduces herself and says she's heard so much about me. She mentions that Rita talks about her second daughter all the time. Another couple comes over and the husband says Rita showed them pictures from our vacation, and it looked amazing. I meet person after person who knows stories about me. They know about my college graduation and how Rita drove 4 hours to be there. They know about Sunday dinners and movie nights. They've heard about Turks and Caicos and the fishing rod Tom gave me for Christmas. These people have known about me for years while I had no idea I was part of their conversations. Rita has been claiming me as family to everyone in her life this whole time. The realization hits me that I've belonged to this family way longer than I understood. I wasn't just adopted into it a few months ago when I took them on vacation. I've been Rita's daughter in her heart for years, and she's been telling everyone. Tom finds me standing in the corner getting emotional and asks if I'm okay. I tell him I just realized I've had a family this whole time and didn't fully know it. He smiles and says they've been waiting for me to figure it out. As midnight gets closer, everyone gathers in the living room with champagne glasses. Bella runs around making sure everyone has a drink, even if it's just sparkling cider. Tom turns on the TV to watch the ball drop in Times Square. Everyone counts down together, and at midnight we all cheer and toast. Rita raises her glass and says to new beginnings and family. Everyone drinks and hugs, and Bella jumps up and down excited about staying up so late. She finds me in the crowd and makes me promise we'll go on another vacation together soon. Tom comes over and jokes that I'm stuck with them now whether I like it or not. I tell him I've never been happier to be stuck with anyone. The party goes until almost 2 in the morning with people slowly heading home. I help Rita and Tom clean up while Bella falls asleep on the couch. When the house is finally quiet, Rita hugs me goodnight and I drive home feeling full in a way I never have before. In January, a letter arrives from my parents' lawyer. My hands shake opening it because I expect something mean or hostile. Instead, it's just business paperwork about a family trust my grandmother set up years ago. The letter is professional and distant, explaining that they need my signature on some documents to finalize the distribution. There's no personal message from my parents. No note saying they miss me or want to talk. Just legal paperwork treating me like any other beneficiary they need to deal with. The coldness of it somehow hurts more than if they'd sent something angry. This makes it clear they're moving forward with their lives, and I'm just a legal obligation to handle. I put the letter on my counter and stare at it for a while. Then I look up lawyers in my area and make some calls. I find one who handles family trust issues and make an appointment for the following week. When I tell Rita about the letter, she immediately offers to come to the lawyer meetings with me. She says I shouldn't have to deal with this alone. I appreciate the offer, but something in me wants to handle this myself. I tell her I can do it, and I'm surprised by how strong my voice sounds. The lawyer meeting is straightforward and professional. I explain the situation and he reviews the paperwork. He says it's a simple distribution and shouldn't take long to resolve. I sign what I need to sign and let him handle communicating with my parents' lawyer. Over the next few weeks, the legal stuff moves forward quickly. My parents don't fight me on anything or try to reduce my share or make it difficult. Everything is fair and reasonable and completed without any drama. Their lawyer sends the final paperwork, and it's done. Somehow that feels worse than if they'd tried to fight me or cut me out. It would have shown they cared enough to be petty or mean. Instead, they just handled it like business and moved on. Like I'm someone they used to know, and now we're settling old accounts before going our separate ways forever. I start seeing a therapist in late January. Not because I'm falling apart or can't function, but because I want to understand what happened and why. I want to make sure I don't carry this pain into other relationships or repeat these patterns somehow. My therapist is a woman in her 50s who listens carefully and asks good questions. I tell her about the 12 years of exclusion and the vacation with Rita and everything that came after. She asks how I feel about my choice to invest in Rita's family instead of my biological one. I tell her it felt like the only real choice I had. She nods and says that choosing Rita's family was an act of self-love. She explains that I recognized who valued me and chose to invest my time and money and heart with them instead of people who repeatedly showed they didn't want me around. We talk about patterns and family dynamics and why some parents struggle to love certain children. She helps me see that my parents' behavior says everything about them and nothing about my worth. Over the next few weeks, I start to feel like I'm processing everything in a healthy way instead of just pushing it down. Valentine's Day comes and Bella shows up at my apartment with a huge card she made. It's covered in glitter and stickers and drawings of the two of us. In big letters across the front it says, "Best Big Sister Ever," with hearts all around it. Inside she wrote about how much she loves me and how I'm the best sister anyone could have. I hug her tight and tell her I love her too. After she leaves, I put the card on my fridge right next to the photos from Turks and Caicos. There's one of all four of us on the beach and another of Bella and me snorkeling. Every time I walk past my fridge, I see that card and those photos, and I remember what real family looks like. A week after Valentine's Day, Rita calls me and suggests we plan a trip together, just the two of us. She wants to take me to the small town where she and my dad grew up, to show me the good parts of our family history before everything got messy and complicated. We spend an evening at her kitchen table looking at old photos and planning the route. Rita points to a picture of her and my dad as kids, standing in front of an old diner that apparently made the best milkshakes in 3 counties. She tells me stories about their childhood that sound almost magical, back when they were close and looked out for each other. I book us a bed and breakfast for a long weekend in April, and Rita gets excited like a kid planning an adventure. In March, my boss calls me into her office and tells me I'm getting promoted to senior analyst with a significant raise. I walk out of that meeting and the first person I call is Rita. She screams so loud I have to pull the phone away from my ear, then immediately starts planning a celebration dinner. That night, Rita, Tom, and Bella take me to this nice Italian restaurant downtown. Tom orders a bottle of wine and stands up to give a toast, telling everyone at nearby tables that his daughter just got promoted. He talks about how proud he is of the woman I've become, how I've shown strength and grace through difficult times. Bella adds that I'm the best big sister anyone could ask for, and Rita reaches across the table to squeeze my hand. The waiter brings out a dessert with a candle in it and the whole restaurant sings. I post a simple update on social media that night, just mentioning the promotion without much detail. 2 days later, Katie texts me congratulations like nothing ever happened between us, like we're just normal sisters who talk regularly. The message is short and generic, the kind of thing you'd send to an acquaintance. I read it, consider responding, then close the message and delete the notification. Some relationships are meant to end, and that's okay. I don't owe her a response just because we share DNA. 6 months after Turks and Caicos, I'm sitting on Rita's back porch watching Bella practice cartwheels in the yard. Tom is grilling burgers and Rita brings me a lemonade, sitting down in the chair next to mine. We're planning our trip to their hometown for next month, and Bella is already asking when we can go back to the beach. My phone sits silent in my pocket because the people who matter are right here with me. I have Sunday dinners every week, movie nights, spontaneous coffee dates, and a family who includes me in everything they do. Rita, Tom, and Bella show up for me consistently, celebrate my wins, support me through hard times, and never make me question whether I'm wanted. My life feels full in a way it never did when I was trying to earn love from people who were never going to give it. Family isn't about blood or obligation or shared last names. It's about who's willing to love you consistently, who shows up when it matters, who makes space for you at their table without you having to ask. I finally understand that, and I'm happier than I've ever been.